Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna have to add to the jar every time I mess it up. Uh, Speaking of messing things up, the Sharks mess up a golden opportunity for 2 points, losing in overtime 5-4 against the Washington Capitals. If you want to be part of the show, please go ahead and use at tealtownusa across all the social media platforms. That includes Twitter, Instagram, the YouTube chat when we get that figured out, Facebook, SoundCloud, and Reddit. I am joined by the one and only Ian Reed. Ian, how are you doing this afternoon? I mean, it looked like things were going to be shiny, but a little bit of storm clouds appearing out on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean it's the tale of two games in one game, really. Like you went into this game and look, there was things that were concerning about this game as it went through, but it looked, you put in the empty netter, and usually that's game. Unfortunately, with the Sharks, nothing is that easy. And here we are. I. I don't like it's like I watched two separate games. Like that's how I feel. Which really for me means I've watched three separate games because I've been trying to keep track of the World Junior game on top of that. So and Twitter perfectly reflected that. Man. I'm trying to put this into words.
Yeah, I mean, he had the good feels with with the goals scored by Evander Kane, Evander getting his third hat trick as a San Jose Shark, and you thought, okay, the Sharks are playing a fairly good road period in that first period, just kind of holding the Capitals at bay, out shooting them in that first period, 13-10. Going into the second period, though, we'd have a bulk of the scoring happening with 5 goals in that second period. Evander Kane with a rare power play goal sighting. Amazing, but Thornton and Meyer in on that one. Thornton with just a beautiful dish into the slot, and Evander getting that on net. What'd you see from that first goal, Ian?
Um the Sharks, that was Sharks scored first, right?
Yes.
Yes. Look, it was good. It was a solid play. I said this yesterday. Goal scorer is goal. Same thing. It was just a solid play. Sorry, I got distracted. Team Canada just scored, and it's 3-3. Apologies there. Yeah, goal scorer is goal. It was a good play. It was a solid play. I thought the Sharks, did a really good job, getting that first goal because at first I was really like I started the game again, tale of two games. I started the game a little bit nervous about Jones. There was a couple of things where I was like, "Ooh, Jones, got to tighten things up a little bit there in the first, right?" And then I thought Jones kind of settled in, and then the Sharks scored, and you thought, okay, hey, look, maybe the Sharks are going to go on a run here. Um, I don't know. I thought it was a solid. It was a solid play, solid goal. But yeah, I thought because the Sharks really. It was nice to see them get on the board. It was rewarded for their play because I thought Jones was a little shaky early, but I thought the team overall was playing really good in front of him. So positive.
Yeah, no, I think in that first period there were definitely a lot of positives. However, Nick Dowd with his fifth on the season, Leipzig and Hathaway getting the assist there. It's 1-1, and that comes 7:29 into the second period. But then just 2.5 minutes later, Evander Kane again.
Can we talk about that goal though?
Yeah, I.
The Capitals goal.
Oh yes, let's talk about the Capitals goal.
Okay, so because I know I immediately jumped on Jones because this was a bad goal for Jones to let in, and everyone's like, well, what about the defense, right? And so I get it. I mean, I understand that, especially when it's time to like crap on Eric Carlson. Like when Eric Carlson does something, we have to mention it. So, but here's the problem with that, right? And I'm not saying that Eric Carlson had a good game today, and I'm not trying to defend Eric Carlson here, but there's just certain shots in a game that a goalie has to make, like certain saves, right?
Right.
And this is one of those saves. Yes, the defense in front of you screws up, but you know what? That's hockey. Like your defense is never going to be perfect in a game of hockey. Sometimes your defense is going to break down and the goalie has to make a save. And so in this situation, in that goal there, obviously you don't like the defensive play, but the defensive play is so far removed from the goal, in my opinion. Like, you need Jones to make that save.
Yeah,
There's no screen, it's just a shot, and it just beats them clean. Like, you can't, when things have gone this wrong this season, you can't allow those kind of goals. So I just wanted to explain that, because I feel like I don't know if I did a good enough job explaining that on Twitter, what I was trying to say. Because I know some people are like, well, you got to crap on the defense too. And yeah, look, the defense need to be better on that play, but Jones, like, that's a save Jones has to make. That's not like a bang bang play and it's in, and you go, okay, well, defense should have taken a stick, defense should have taken a man. Like, this is a clean shot that beats Jones clean. He has to be better.
yes, definitely a clean shot that beats Jones clean.
Yeah.
That's like home games being played at home.
Home games being played at home. Look, I today has been such a brutal day for me. Like, I don't like, my day night jar is already full. You should see my Twitter game. My Twitter game was atrocious today. Just
Yeah.
atrocious.
Yeah, I had maybe 3 tweets out during the game because I'm like, I'm finishing my coffee. I'm trying to get something to eat here, just trying to wake up. But, somebody who is waking up, quite frankly, on this road trip. I mean, Evander Kane comes in again and answers right back. Like I said, 2.5 minutes in, and 2.5 minutes later after the Dowd goal, he gets a 17th on the season. Couture and Carlson with the assists. That would be
Yeah.
Melker Carlson.
Yes.
And he had a great play in the neutral zone that really came back and started that play. It allowed Couture to kind of move up and then do the little drop back to Kaner to get that short-sided goal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, Melker Carlson obviously, gets a lot of crap from this fan base, and I'm not going to pretend like a lot of it's not deserved, but assault. This guy is an NHL tweener for a reason, right? Like, I consider him like an NHL tweener. He's kind of a guy who could play on your fourth line. He's a guy that probably would tear it up in the A. Um, look at, yeah, sometimes he does make some solid plays, and I like Melker Carlson's thing about his game is that he doesn't get enough credit for how simple he can play his game, and I think it was a simple play that turned into a big play for the Sharks.
Yeah, yeah, and you saw a lot of second efforts tonight by the forwards. Excuse me, this afternoon by the forwards, really doing a great job back checking, and that back check led directly to a goal. So when you play good defense, the offense will come, and you really do start to make your breaks. Evander Kane, though, would get another break on the power play. Funnily enough, so I think it's since November 7th since the Sharks scored multiple power play goals. But Evander Kane with his 18th, this time Erik Karlsson getting in on the assist game there with Timo Meier, and that would be Meier's second assist, and he was doing quite well. I mean, doing some real yeoman's work. However, after feeling all those good vibes, Sharks got a shark and let in a goal within 2 minutes of the period ending. It comes 18:42 on the clock. Jacob Verana with his 17th, but assisted by TJ Oshie. And you thought, okay, the guys are kind of letting it up here in the last minute. Even after they scored the goal, Kuznetsov had a beautiful look to tie the game in that second period. Tried to pull the old hurdle move there, but failing in epic fashion. But I mean, Ian, help us dissect what happens to this team in the latter portions of a period that really just does them in, and it's been a trait.
They get lazy.
Yeah.
They get lazy. I mean, it's really simple. They get lazy. They get lazy, and the one thing that the Sharks have done repeatedly this year that has worked against them is that they don't take care of the center of the ice.
Right.
Right? And that's, and this is the problem. This is why you see all these odd man rushes and stuff, because guys for some reason, get to skate up the middle of the ice and start taking shots on your goalie.
Right. I mean, and I totally agree with that. I also think that their play within the neutral zone also has a lot to do with it, because I feel like they're caught between wanting to play the body on the blue line and wanting to really funnel a team to the exterior, right? So they're kind of caught between these two defensive mechanisms within the neutral zone, and they don't
Sure.
really have a great idea of how to sort it out if either of those things break down, and that allows the center lane drive to be open. And so, the team to me, like you said, I think they let off on the gas. And I also think that when they do let off on the gas, that their mental game defensively becomes suspect.
And it's hard to look at another thing that I think bears to be mentioned here is to it's hard to keep momentum when you're getting victimized by some pretty ridiculous penalty calls like that. Like that Kane interference was ridiculous.
Oh, right, and then the slash,
And then the slash, like,
and then the slash later that that they called in favor
yeah,
on us. Yeah, tonight's reffing. There it is again. God damn it. This afternoon's reffing left a lot to be desired. I think we're halfway into the season and we're still questioning what's going to be called. Right? What is interference and what is a slash?
it's hard, right? Because like it's hard because like there's some plays, and then I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like Brent Burns totally gets away with one behind the net with the ref standing right beside him. Like that's roughing in any league that I've ever watched.
Right.
So that's difficult too. And that's I don't know. I think it's hard. Like there is complacency and there is breakdowns and there's obviously problems that the Sharks have had. And look that the one goal there where it was really a nothing play. The ref doesn't know where the hell he's going. And the ref made a mistake. Refs are human beings, right? But Vlasic doesn't know how to play that puck because the ref doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And then a nothing play turns into a hell of a play by TJ Oshie to pick it up and turn it over. But, you can get mad at Vlasic there and be like, well, Vlasic really screwed Jones there. But really, and I don't blame Jones for that goal at all, but really, that ref needs to decide what the hell he's doing. Again, human error, simple human error on the ref's part. But it's just one of those things where, it's a crappy break. Yeah. And I'm not going to try and say that the Sharks were victimized in this game. The Sharks victimized themselves in this game.
Right.
But plays like that don't help.
No, they really don't. And I think right now this team is very much whatever little mistake that they make is amplified by a chain of defensive lapses that happen afterwards. Sure. So it seems like it's Murphy's Law. When something breaks, I think everything is breaking, right?
Right. No, and exactly. And that's the best way I think to look at it. And it's unfortunate, but that's hockey, right? Like this stuff is going to happen.
Right.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Canada scores. It is now 4-3 Canada with 4 minutes left. Oh my God. All right.
So going into the third period, the Sharks, really did a good job in that third period, just stifling the neutral zone, got back to that good defense that they were playing earlier in the first period. And, I thought they were on cruise control, doing a pretty good job with the chips, doing a good job with keeping it to one and dones. Had a couple of close calls. I think they had a post, a ringer off the post, and a few other semi-high dangers. But for the most part, a pretty good road period up until seemingly the empty net goal. Logan Couture with the empty netter at 19 minutes in the third period. Hurdle and Burns both getting the assists there. And then collapse. I mean,
well, you know what? And it's funny though, because if you look at that play specifically, I was going to comment on this and I'm like, no, you know what? They're winning. Just be nice, Ian. But the nonchalantness of Couture scoring that goal, like when you look at what happened next, like you're kind of like, and it's an empty net goal. I mean, you don't have to go and pretend you're deking out the goal or anything else, but it was just funny how the game ended when you look at how nonchalant that last goal was that Couture scored.
Yeah, no, and it just seemed like, he was really waiting to the last possible second to bury it into the empty net. And even that, it seemed like he was skating in slow motion.
It did. Like, it was really such like I don't know, man. I just feel like if you're the Sharks but maybe he's trying to kill clock. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna like look at. I'm not gonna try and overly be critical of an empty net goal, right? Like
Right.
we can't. I'm not. It's just kind of ironic the way that goal was scored and the way the game ended after that. Like I look at again, Couture's probably killing some clock there. But it does seem like it was like the most slow motion, nonchalant, nothing happening empty net goal ever.
Yeah, and so you thought, okay, 42-minute left, Sharks got this one, but then Jacob Verana makes it very interesting. He gets his 18th. That's the second of the game with Eller and Gudis going ahead and getting those assists, and then you're like, okay, 4-3. We've got 47 seconds. We got to kill off. Okay, not this isn't this isn't the end of the world or whatever. It's just Sharks got to cut it close, cardiac kids.
Mhm.
But then TJ Oshie with the tying goal with 15 seconds left in the game, Kuznetsov and Backstrom with the assists. And, I think we need to look at both of those goals together because quite frankly, they were eerily similar to each other. And
Yeah,
both angle shots that Jones, if he's not so far back in the net, is going to cut off. But man,
that's it. That's it, right? The team gets absolutely rattled by the Verona goal. The Verona goal, right, was the first one that Oshie scored the second. Um, like they got rattled, and you could tell Jones was rattled. Because when Jones is at his best, he's challenging shooters, and I thought that was the thing that he did really well. After a little bit of shaky starts of the first, he started to show some coffee. He started coming out and challenging shots and, playing more to the tip of his crease. That completely went away here. And you could tell, like, just the pressure they're putting on, the Sharks just got rattled because they had already checked out, man. They were making lunch plans.
yeah, I mean, I think that they had their eyes on the St. Louis Ribs a little too early, right?
Yeah.
I it just you saw after that first goal how dejected the team looked. The team just kind of, I saw them look back to Jones. You saw Vlasic just clear on, just sigh.
Hmm.
He just sighs when he sees that first goal. And and again, both of the goals are fairly easy. If you're on if you're on your right angles, those are both fairly easy goals to stop, and
Yeah.
yet he gives them up back to back within 30 seconds. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is with his game right now. I don't know
Well,
if
he has no confidence. He has no confidence. That's obviously clear. Like, I mean, how could he at this point? With the past 2 seasons, I mean, he's not Martin Jones. I'm sure is not an idiot.
right.
I'm sure he knows where he's at this point. I'm sure he understands completely that, Aaron Dell has pretty much wrestled the net away from him. I look, he's a human being, and
Right.
I am sure that all of this stuff has to be weighing on him.
Yeah, and I don't know what what it'll take to rejuvenate his game, but I'm thinking a long layoff for sure. I think the next couple of games, I think you should start Dell. Give him a week.
Joe Martin Jones shouldn't see the net for the rest of the season. If I had my way, he wouldn't see the net for the rest of the season. Because look at, if you're gonna make the playoffs, all right. And again, this is an incredibly long shot. Because I think, if my math is correct, I think the Sharks can lose. Oh, they got a point today, so maybe they can lose maybe 8, maybe 9 games tops for the remainder of the season to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're collecting points, I don't think the overtime losses hurt as bad as just straight up, 0 points. But
Sure.
still, again, we're playing razor thin margins here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, at this point, like, what do you have to lose by playing Dell? Even if you make the playoffs, which is a big if, what do you
Right.
have to lose? You're playing with house money at that point. What have you succeeded in? Ottawa's not drafting in the lottery with your pick.
Right. Exactly.
And that's pretty much all you can play for right now.
And
I
so
mean, playoffs is a good thing, and obviously, we all want to see them make the playoffs, but let's also be realistic here. That is a hell of a long shot at this point.
right. And so just a quick peer over into the schedule. It seems like they're playing every other. They've got this every other game. Nice little schedule here. So I don't think we would see Dell or see Jones actually for the rest of January, because it really is uh, St. Louis off day, Columbus off day, Dallas off day, Arizona off day, Colorado off day, Vancouver off day. So I agree. I think giving Jones the rest of the month off.
Unless if
Spend
Dell completely throws out a stinker, then fine, go back to Jones. But until Dell has a stinker, which he hasn't yet under Bob Bugner, you play him because again, he's tired when the playoffs happen. Big deal. You think this team's a legit playoff contender? I know people are gonna be like, but St. Louis. For Forget that for a minute. If this team makes it, much like St. Louis did, again, okay, sure, maybe stuff happens. Do not put in my mouth that I am trying to say that the Sharks are going to St. Louis this thing. All I'm saying is that even if you do make it, if you do by against all odds make the playoffs, you're playing with house money at that point.
Oh
Who
yeah.
cares what happens? If you win a round, you lose a round, who gives a damn? You it's a better outcome than anyone would have thought today.
Right. It was, especially with how bad they've played in the month of December and the month of October, and that's for sure. So, again, I think the moral of the story is Jones needs some time to regain his form if he can. Again, spending as much time as he can with Nabokov, because you know what, fault Nabokov for a lot of different things, but not being aggressive was not part of his game, and that's for sure. He was an aggressive goaltender, and you hope that Jones just comes back with the game that we saw him with, the explosive pads and with the challenging of the shooters in his previous start.
Yeah.
You thought, okay, maybe he is kind of figuring out his game again, but boy, you give him an opportunity like tonight, and you give him um, the benefit of the doubt that he's going to try and really push Dell, quite frankly,
Mhm.
and just totally craps the bed. So in overtime, unfortunately, Lars Eller ends it, his 10th on the season. Carlson and Holtby, Braden Holtby of all people, getting the assist. But I mean, it was back and forth.
I didn't really hate the overtime goal. I mean, you don't like it, and obviously, look, at this point, you're pretty angry at Jones, with how the game has turned out. But with how back and forth, I mean, that's overtime 3-on-3 hockey, right?
Right. That was
You
fun.
want
It was
Jones, yeah,
fun.
you exactly. I mean, you want Jones to make that save, and I want Jones. I think he should probably make that save, but it's so back and forth at that point. It's just you're just exchanging chances, and unfortunately, Holtby was the better goaltender in overtime, and that's how it ends.
Well, I mean, more lucky, quite frankly, too. I mean,
Well,
Timo
yeah,
Meyer.
and you could argue luck as well. I mean, luck. Hey, you have to be lucky to be good.
Yeah, exactly. So that ends the afternoon's game, and the Sharks unfortunately fall 5-4 against the Washington Capitals. And this is just, this is going to be one of those games that you look back like, hey, this was a point squandered,
Hmm.
and really could have gone a long way to helping them in their cause.
I
As it
mean, the only positive you can take from that is at least Washington is not a Western Conference team that you're chasing down. They're an Eastern Conference team. A 3-point game against Washington doesn't really hurt you. You got a point. That helps.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Um, if you're looking for bright sides and silver linings and everything else, there's a silver lining for you. Washington, it was a 3-point game, but it was a 3-point game against the Eastern Conference opponent. You gained a point, and that's gonna help you increase the standings. You're not chasing Washington. Washington's completely irrelevant to your supposed playoff push. So there's that. There you go.
Yeah, and this one, about 12 babies. This was the game Jones needed to win to stay off the bench, and I think that we are kind of in agreement there too. We
Well, I
don't
said
want.
it yesterday. I mean, until Dell gives you a bad game, I don't know why you don't just ride the hell out of him. Because what's the worst that could happen? You make the playoffs.
Yeah, or at least going into the All-Star break, right? Not seeing Jones through the All-Star break would really give him a long time to figure this out. Um, because whatever mental state he's in now, whatever state condition his game is now, both of those things could definitely use a break.
Yeah.
It just, you can just tell he's just not a confident goaltender right now. I think that he's also kind of fighting his previous technique that he's learned throughout his years, being taught the goaltending position. I think that that's kind of coming into conflict now with the way that Nabby is kind of having the goaltenders be a little bit more explosive, trying to have the goaltenders work on some different things. Aaron Dell seems to be really adjusting well to it. I think it had
Well,
also, I honestly, and I think it placed his strengths because he's really more of an athletic goalie.
yeah, I mean, and again, look at I know, and there's been some stuff in the chat, like basically, like it's not like Dell is some like superstar goalie. He's not. Like I'm not trying to tell you that Aaron Dell is the second coming of
Ken
insert
Dryden.
Ken Dryden,
Yeah.
all the great. He's not the second coming of frickin' Tretiak, okay?
Yeah.
I get that. But he is giving you the best goaltending you are getting right now. And unfortunately, if you're the Sharks, you have two choices. You have Martin Jones and you have Aaron Dell. Aaron Dell's giving you the better goaltending. Aaron Dell should get the starts. Simple.
Right. I mean, and he's the only goaltender that you're sporting above a 900 save percentage, right? So at or above 900. So, just kind of quickly reviewing, the Sharks end up losing, but they do gain a point. So right now in the standings, Sharks currently stand at 44 games played with 42 points, record of 19, 21, and 4 on the season. And they are trailing the Winnipeg Jets for the last wild card spot by 6 points. However, Winnipeg does have 2 games in hand. I think the team that you kind of circle off is Edmonton, right? Edmonton's at 49 points, and the Sharks stand at 42. So that's a clear 3.5 game up on the Sharks. And so again, we've said it again. They're going to need to go on a large win streak here to kind of gain ground again, to really just to even dig them out of their own hole, because
Yeah.
they're 2 games under NHL 500, which is really 6 games under regular 500. So, you know, I, I don't know what to make of this team, Ian. They're so bipolar right now.
Yeah, I mean, it. Look, they've dug themselves an awful hole, right? And I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if we're being real about this team, they have dug themselves probably a hole they can't dig themselves out of. Now, look at. I am a Sharks fan. I would like to see the Sharks do well. I don't want to see them just quit on the season. I would love to see them fight and make me believe that they can get back into this thing. I mean, during this game, you kind of started getting those feelings. You started getting those November feelings, didn't you? Like you got, oh, look at this, they're doing this. They haven't won back-to-back games since November, and then, you have power play goals suddenly coming, and everything started feeling like November again until it suddenly didn't. I mean, they're in a deep hole. Obviously, you don't want to see them just cave in and give up. Obviously, like you still want to see good hockey. I mean, you got what, half a season still to play. But it's going to be hard, and I think people need to have realistic expectations of what's going to happen, and then. And then the trade deadline isn't too far away because, like, it's we're into the new year now. World Juniors are over. What's the next big thing on the calendar? Trade deadline, and that's going to make some interesting conversations too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've been hearing some rumblings out of Toronto with some interest, some prospective interest in Dylan. Moving out a left-hand D is probably going to be important, especially for getting Ferraro and Shimek off of each other's D pair.
Yeah. There's that, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that the Sharks are obviously going to look at. It's going to be interesting. I'm working on an article about this and trying to figure out like what you trade for what. And it's going to be interesting, I think, because I've just kind of started it and still in the fleshing out phase because I'm trying to like come up with good comparables and stuff. But it's unfortunate Dylan doesn't shoot right.
Yeah, right. But I think that there will be some value that can be extracted out of some pieces that you might want to trade away. Again, I just don't know what to make of the team if they go into the All-Star break, riding a 4 or 5 game winning streak or whatever. For one, kind of think you try and keep the mojo together and you don't trade anything and let Dylan walk. I mean, what's
I Yeah, I mean it's hard, right? Because you want to have something. It's a difficult trade-off because in one hand, you keep the band together. What's going to be interesting to see is what the Sharks do, because really trading for draft picks isn't going to help this team right now, because none of the guys you're going to trade are going to give you. Brendan Dillon's not netting you a first round pick. And even if you do, even if it nets you a first round pick, you're trading him to a team that obviously is playoff bound. So that's, it's not like you're not going to replace what you've lost to Ottawa already.
right? It's going to be a low, a low pick.
A low pick, and I don't even think I doubt you even get a first for him. But for the Sharks at this point, I think what you need to do is you need to start looking. If you're going to start trading players, you need to trade for players that are going to, help you now or help you at least next year. It can't, obviously you're not trading for a rental to try and make the playoffs, because I think that's just stupid. The prices for rentals are too high, and you're going to throw away more picks by doing that. You need to, if you're going to start moving players around, I'd like to see them move, because look at the Sharks being what they are, and maybe they surprise us, and maybe they make a bunch of moves for guys that we never thought were movable. But the reality is, you're trying to plug holes next year.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And the Sharks need to get some equity back into the into the farm, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think anything right now is kind of on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Just where the Sharks are at, and just insofar as their play dictating, what moves should be made. I think anything is on the table dictated on their play. Shifting focus over to the league, there's really, I mean, we're the first game of the docket today, so
Mm-hmm.
we've got some good matchups: Panthers and Penguins, Lightning and Hurricane, Flames and Wild, Red Wings and Blackhawks, Predators and Ducks. So we've got a full slate on the rest of the evening. I mean, Ian, if you want to take it away and riff a little bit on the World Juniors and what you saw and what you liked.
You know what, I didn't get to watch as much as I like. I'm watching the medal presentation now, and I hate seeing sad kids regardless of what country they're from. I thought the Russians played a hell of a game this game.
Right.
Nice, good, solid game. I mean, obviously I'm happy Team Canada won because I'm Canadian, and why would I not be happy my team won? But yeah, it was a fun tournament. It always is. I mean, I think this is some of the best hockey that you get throughout the year. It's unfortunate that because of obviously being in a time zone that's not friendly to us, that the games were on so early, especially for you guys out on the West Coast. But this is, next to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think is my favorite hockey of the year.
Yeah, no, and it's some really exciting hockey. You get to see the emerging stars from throughout the different nations that get to go, and I think the Sharks had a prospect in the Finland
Yep.
bronze game.
Unfortunately, the Swedes, unfortunately, yeah, Swedes, no, maybe not unfortunate. I mean, the Swedes won. Congratulations to them. They got the bronze medal. But yeah, I mean, it's hell of a tournament. That one pool was pretty stacked. I mean, you had pretty much, I think Sweden and Finland were one pool, and like everyone else was in the other. The Russians, is insane, insane pool. So it'd be interesting to see what the pools look like next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. It seems like it was kind of like the
It was
the
the pool
first.
of death for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly, the first division and everybody else. So, that being said, Ian, what are your final thoughts on today's game and where exactly the Sharks are going and where the people can find you?
Well, look, um, much similar things I said yesterday. I mean, this is a bump in the road. The Sharks, they only have so many losses left in this season, and I mean, I know you want to focus on, they need to win a bunch of games, but the number of games they can lose are getting fewer and far between. But look at the Sharks. This is a bump in the road. The what matters is what happens the next game and the game after that and the game after that. I mean, this game doesn't, is this game going to be considered a bump in the road on, an exciting trying to track down the playoffs, or is this a turning point where everything just kind of the wheels just completely fall off again? That remains to be seen. But sorry about that. Reality is they're in a deep hole, but they got a point. They didn't give any points to someone else in the conference that they're trying to chase down for a wild card spot or division spot or whatever. There are some silver linings here, but I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
want to see Martin Jones in net forever.
yeah, I mean, silver lining wise, I think it's two tough games back to back. We didn't even really mention that. You get a possible 3 out of 4 points.
Yeah.
So, and playing against a just an outstanding Washington Capitals team, and playing against a pretty rough and tumble kind of Columbus team. So, extracting the
I
points.
mean, I'm trying to be. I look at. I've been very much on the road that this season has been over for games now. But on the show, I try to be positive. I try to give people something to walk away from the show happy with. I mean, no one wants me to come on the show and be like, "Well, the season's over anyway. What the hell does it matter?" It's like,
Right.
what the hell are we doing here, right? Um, it it's a long road, but if they're going to do something, if they're going to make it interesting, the opportunity is still there to at least make it interesting. At Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter machine, and like I said, I am working on that article about basically selling the Sharks, I'm hoping it'll be ready sooner than later, but it's probably going to take a little bit of time because I'm trying to do some research and not just make hot takery a thing.
Well, that's good that you're always putting in the research there, Ian. I'm at Eric Landy. Use my first name. That's Eric spelled with a K. Last name Landy, Landi, on all the social media garbage. And for everybody at Teal Town USA, thank you for checking us out this afternoon.
Absolutely.
And like they always say, keep it real.
Oh yes, happy. Hey, how better? Hey, 5th anniversary for the pod, for the vlog, whatever. That's really awesome. I think what a better way to celebrate the 5th anniversary with two guys that weren't there at the start.
Keep it teal and keep it real, Teal. Thanks, everybody.